So here's a question that's going to be highly debated for probably the next month or so. And that is Black Ops 7 worth $70 or not? JGod has a video out on exactly that. We're going to be going through it on this one. The interesting thing about this is this was a hot topic back in Modern Warfare 3 when everyone was calling Modern Warfare 3 a $70 DLC. Now, I don't see that sentiment for Black Ops 7 at all. But I think what he's going to do is go through what is coming out with Black Ops 7 and then talking about whether he believes it to be worth it or not. That would be my guess, but let's find out.
Ops 7, because as
we're
going to talk about everything you actually get with Black Ops 7, because as we get pretty close, I think a lot of people want to kind of know what they're actually getting for their $70. Realistically, I want to kind of cover the various modes, talk about the actual content you will get, and then whether or not it's worth buying or pre-ordering. Generally, I advise against pre-ordering. Because there's not really much benefit to it, especially not like when you go into a store, you pre-order, get the physical copy. Now it's just digital, so it's not.
Honestly, I think one of the reasons why we've seen positive changes with Black Ops 7 is lack of pre-orders. So it might actually be a better thing not to.
Not really all that big a deal. So we'll be covering what you can expect from the campaign, multiplayer, and then zombies, as well as all the DLC content that you get for free throughout the year, and a lot of the features that they're doing with Black Ops 7 to kind of respect the player's time investment, because a lot of people do sink a ton of hours into the game, and I feel like they do a pretty good job of rewarding you for that time, whether you're more of a quote-unquote free-to-play player.
So this is what he's talking about here is like the Modern Warfare 3 style unlocks.
After you buy the game, you don't spend any additional money, or you're hardcore into the microtransaction stuff and buy all the cosmetics that your heart desire. Regardless, I'll go over what kind of is the basic content you'll be getting. And speaking of ways to save time, this video does have a sponsor. Today's video is brought to you by Factor Meals, and this is a company I've worked with multiple times because I genuinely enjoy the product and I've used them as well. I've been sponsored by them. My interestingly enough, just yesterday I had a Thanksgiving dinner. My stepdad got diagnosed with diabetes. He's using this as a way to lose weight and try to beat the diabetes. It's a pretty good service. The product
it's expensive.
Times, especially with the new releases of Call of Duty. I tend to grind a ton of hours and make sure I have meals stacked up so that I don't go around skipping meals, because that can be pretty bad for you, especially on my current fitness journey right now where I'm down 40 pounds.
Look at JGod crushing it.
Can't be missing any meals. And they made it even easier with tons more options, doubling their menu size to 80 plus options per week to fit whatever nutrition needs you have, whether it's high protein, carb conscious, keto, calorie smart, fiber filled, or GLP-1 balance. And since the menu is updated with regularity, you can go ahead and pick different things all the time and make sure that you're really never eating the same thing unless that's genuinely what you want to eat. And if you've never had a Factor meal, they're super easy. They come to you pretty much already ready made. You open them up, throw them into the microwave. After about 2.5 minutes, they come out, you let it.
It's a lie. It's a lie. You got to microwave those things for well longer than that, just to be clear.
Cool, and then you're pretty much good to go. You got your meal, and this is particularly even more helpful for somebody who's only making a meal for themselves, or if you just want an alternative that's simpler and easier to do than eating out. And if you want to try it out for yourself, go ahead and head over to Factor75.
It's also possible my microwave just sucks. Also possible, just throwing that out there.
.com, or you can click the link near the top of the description and use code JGodFB50, and this will get you 50% off your first box and free breakfast for 1 year. That's code JGodFB50 at Factor75.com. Again, to get 50% off plus that 1 free year of breakfast. Thank you again to Factor for sponsoring today's video. Welcome back. When it comes to these different things, they've actually kind of gone out of their way to do a ton in this game that each one of these individual modes can almost be a standalone. I know that most people, or at least my general feeling has always been that majority of players play the multiplayer, and then slightly less players play the zombies, which is still a huge fan base for that. And then there's people that are kind of dedicated to the campaign.
So this is kind of like he's talking about me. JGod's talking about me right there. So this is actually, I think, a problem with Call of Duty is since they have implemented this like leveling up through any mode, it makes it so that players just play the mode that they want. I'll give you an example of this in a second, but for example, like he's saying, there's people who just play zombies or just play multiplayer or just play. There used to be a time when your multiplayer level was different than your zombies level. So if you actually wanted to level up through everything and complete everything, you had to play each mode. Now people will just play one, which I do think is better, just to be clear. But it creates a separation within the game.
And this will be kind of like the longest campaign that we've ever had in Call of Duty history. Just for a little bit of a reference, the average COD campaign is around 6.5 hours.
That is, these numbers are not right. This is a lie. This is a goddamn lie. Modern Warfare, no. Just no. 3 hours, 4 hours, 3.5 maybe for Vanguard. Modern Warfare is one of the longer ones. The Modern Warfare 1 and 2 are about 5 hours. Oh, are we going old school? No. Oh, okay, these are listed in order. Black Ops 3 is not 9 hours. Advanced Warfare is not 7.5 hours. Both of those are around 5. These are wrong. They're wrong. They're wrong. Okay, anyway.
That's if you just kind of play through it normally on regular difficulty. Treyarch usually ends up being a little bit more on the longer end, around 7.5 hours.
Also not true. Treyarchs are normally shorter.
Hours on average, with maybe only one exception being a little bit shorter. Black Ops 7 is expected to be around that same thing for Treyarch. You're going to about 7.5 hours of campaign gameplay, and that's the
campaign will probably be about 4 to 5 hours long, and then the additional time of endgame, just to be clear. I don't know where he's getting these numbers from.
Base standard gameplay that you're kind of used to, where you queue up for a specific mission, and this follows to the next mission, then the next mission.
But I beat Black Ops 6 on my first playthrough in 4 hours, just to be clear.
And the next mission, pretty linearly, with some cutscenes, some, hype moments, I guess you want to call it, and then you kind of have your content related to that. But for the first time ever, they're going to also expand on this and add to what they're calling an end game content area, which
by the way, after looking into this, I am like 90% sure that this is a new take on Modern Warfare Zombies.
Realistically, from what I was told, is going to be about as long as the main campaign and probably just a little bit longer. And that is it's like a DMZ style game mode in a sense, but it's not really DMZ because it's not an extraction shooter game, or it's not an extraction based mode. But it introduces a ton of systems that are separate from your regular operator levels, weapon levels, and stuff like that. It's going to have its own system, similar to like zombies. They have augments, if you're familiar with those systems, where you'll be able to...
Just to be clear, none of this has been confirmed. Like, zero of this.
Progress in that specific mode, and it has very specific things. And these are some of the things that we saw kind of in the trailer, where maybe you get access to a grapple hook, which doesn't exist in multiplayer. Maybe you get access to that super jump, which again doesn't exist in multiplayer or zombies. They have their own version of...
No. None of this, just to be clear, none of this has been confirmed. Zero. You're saying that most of what he's saying has been confirmed? No, most of what he's saying is through leaks. And yes, mentioned in a broadcast, but never shown. Like, for example, one of the things that I don't want to say that any of this is confirmed until we see gameplay, right? Like, the easiest example is he said the super jump thing that we see in the campaign. They said, oh, you can use that in endgame. Like, that was part of like the broadcast or whatever. Well, we haven't seen endgame footage, so I don't know. I am even speculative of this mode even coming out at this point, because I haven't talked about it since the direct back at Gamescom. So
movement, which is going to be with the wall jump, that's an aside. Campaign will have that too, but campaign will lean into a bunch of other systems.
But just to be clear, everything, all these leaks that he's saying, I've heard the same things. Just to be clear.
That are very specific to the campaign and only available within the campaign. And this is also while we'll have shared progression. This is something I'm going to bring up probably a bunch for every mode.
Okay, so you're saying that they showed super jump in the endgame footage. Okay, was that endgame footage or was that just campaign footage? Because there is open world missions in the campaign, so it's impossible to tell.
Talk about because I think this really is that type of thing where it does respect your time as a player. I know there's very much instances in the past where I would, the instant I could get onto the server,
You can hear him complaining on his live stream in the background.
I was playing multiplayer, and the only time I ever touched campaign was basically when we got to have it early, or maybe there was an outage at some point, and I was like, you know what, I'm kind of bored. Let me go ahead and try the campaign. Other than that, I had really no reason to try the campaign, especially since I'm like, well, I want to gain levels, I want to gain progression, and campaign didn't offer that. Now it will. So you don't really have to feel like you're sacrificing that time. You could just play what you want.
That's a good point.
If you don't want to play the campaign, that's cool too. For anyone that was kind of always on the fence and you felt like it wasn't that important, or you played it anyways, now you can actually benefit from it. One thing that hasn't really gotten talked about as much is it's been already kind of confirmed that there's going to be DLC content for the campaign. And this will be like another first for Call of Duty. To my
Again, not really, because raids in Modern Warfare 2 were basically campaign DLC.
knowledge, I can't recall a time when they did this, when they
Also, Spec Ops missions in Modern Warfare 2019.
actually added story elements, progression, and like cutscenes and stuff that are going to expand on the story. And that's just that particular part. Obviously, we can go into more like granular details on what the mode's going to offer in terms of the leveling. And if you die, you can be reset. And there's some other elements there. The camo grind, if you're into that, that's not for everyone, but it does allow you to potentially just like reach max level in the game of 55, which we know you could prestige after that. But if you just want to reach max level, the campaign could probably provide you for that. And then when you jump over to multiplayer, you can, have everything unlocked. If you go into zombies, you'll pretty much have everything unlocked. If you choose,
So I'm pretty sure the way I'm going to be doing things is I'll probably hop on and play like 1 or 2 games of multiplayer just for a video, and then rip through the campaign and then go straight into endgame. Probably do something similar to a 24-hour stream on the first day, just to get through all of that endgame stuff, figure out what it is and all of that. So that's kind of my plan for the launch of the game.
opt to not prestige and engage with those systems. So easily you're going to have around 15-ish hours, probably on the more like short side if you kind of skip cutscenes and rush through, but easily 20 plus hours if you really enjoy the experience and then you engage with it and like it. That brings us to probably the most popular mode in my opinion, is multiplayer. Maybe this has changed over the years. I know it felt like the game was leaning more towards Warzone and multiplayer kind of took a back seat, and now it's kind of.
So when do you think that actually moved between Warzone and, like, was it straight with Modern Warfare 2019 that they did that, when they moved away from the focus being multiplayer to being Warzone? Or was that later on? Right? Because I would say like later on, like definitely Modern Warfare 2. Modern Warfare 2, I think there was more of a focus on Warzone. But then Warzone 2 flopped as I don't know. That's a tough question.
Back to the way it was, and I think they're doing a lot of changes that rely on player feedback. And, whether it was Battlefield success that kind of turned the needle in some of these areas, some of the things they couldn't have possibly known in advance, but other little key things that they're changing with multiplayer are huge. You're going to get the 16 base maps for 6v6. There's a couple of the bigger maps that are like a ground war style thing, not necessarily ground war, but 16. And from the beta, you already know that these maps are already bigger than what we had in Black Ops 6.
16 maps is great. I will say, because in years past, we've played the beta and then there's been like 5 more maps added at launch and it just felt like nothing and it sucked. Right? 16, basically we have 10 more maps. Yeah, 3 of them are remakes that will be coming at launch, but that's still a lot.
The enhanced Omni movement,
and then
the
Nuketown coming, which
they already put out
then
some
season
details
1
saying, hey, we're looking to change some of the stuff based off player feedback from the beta, that they're going to implement those. On top of that, and the 30 base weapons that the game's going to come with, you're going to get all the maps and weapons and pretty much all post-launch content for free. Usually you're going to get around 20 to 30 6v6.
Okay. No, that's I don't think that's true. Is it 18 maps with the skirmish maps, or is it 16 maps including the skirmish maps? Because I think it's 18 and then 2 are skirmish, so it's 16 6v6. Yeah. Okay.
Maps throughout the
That's
year.
what I thought.
That's going to be included. When that's whether or not you buy the game as a pre-order, day one, or 6 months into the game's life cycle, you're going to have access to all of that content. And then you get the 30 or 40 weapons that are released throughout the year, essentially doubling the availability of weapons. And like I said earlier, you're going to be able to get all the way to level 55, get access to all the content, essentially. Everything else after that is what we would call peacocking. Where it's basically just stuff to show off that you play the game a bunch, or you do specific challenges.
I've never heard anyone call it peacocking in Call of Duty, but he's not wrong.
Whether it's 100% your calling card, whether it's specific prestige camos or weapon prestige or number prestige, level 1000 mastery.
No, he's 100% right.
You can just kind of go on and on about all the peacocking that COD allows. But if you're someone that doesn't really get into that, and you just kind of enjoy the gameplay loop of getting into matches quickly, understanding the maps and the spawns are kind of predictable on what you can expect to get from them, that there's a little bit of a controlled chaos that is added with Call of Duty and streaks, and you know, that like frenetic gameplay that they always talk about, that's kind of tied to COD, and you really can't get anywhere else. Even in the quote unquote like slower, not necessarily hectic CODs, you still had those things. It still has that core component that is Call of Duty, which comes back to that gameplay element that really no other game can replicate. And they kind of really stay in their lane when it comes.
It is very true that there is just something about the Call of Duty gameplay, like the loop and the way that guns feel and the way that like just everything feels, that it just seems like no other game, like even Battlefield, which I think is now the second like most fluent feeling shooter. It's just not quite the same. And I don't know what that is. Like X Defiant didn't feel like there's not a single game that feels like that. And it's weird because I can't put my finger on what that is.
So that, and love it or hate it, that's kind of the core feature of Call of Duty, to have those types of things. Again, shared progress across the campaign, multiplayer, and zombies. I know this always gets mixed up, but you are not obligated or required to buy any battle passes for any of the weapons. They are completely optional for a bunch of cosmetic stuff, which mostly is kind of a waste. I think battle passes over the years have kind of gotten to be a waste. So
battle pass needs a new system. I hope that they announce that they're gonna have battle passes, but I hope they announce it this year that they're doing a new system with it or new items or something. Because I think at this point, battle passes and bundles are just to me feel like a complete waste.
I don't even really encourage people buying those that often. We are getting that reduced matchmaking. That's
same with Battlefield, by the way,
for the entirety of the game. It's not like the beta where there's split modes. I think they're going to do some other things that they haven't announced yet that I've heard of.
That's a really good question between these two games, Battlefield and Call of Duty. Will either of them do permanent battle passes? In other words, you buy it and you can unlock things for it forever. Great question.
Kind of like on the side.
Like
that
Helldivers
could be improved even upon those. I think persistent lobbies being back is going to be another huge one, where you could form those rivalries, go head to head with other players, talk your smack if you want, if you're one of those trash talkers, a lot of those in COD. Because right now it's like, yeah, bro, I smoked you. Disbanding lobby. It's like, oh, they didn't even get a reply. Or vice versa. I didn't even get a reply. It's kind of one of those things. And then I believe they also made some announcements about some aim assist tuning to further expand on some of the tuning they did last year.
Yeah, so what he's talking about here is going to come out later this week.
And that was a huge benefit, especially up close. They modified the way aim assist works. And I think they'll continue to do this to kind of balance out the inputs, as well as, you know, not necessarily making the game aim for you as much. I think they'll get into some of that. One thing that is especially nice about even all these weapons and stuff like that, the leveling in COD is significantly faster than especially what we've seen in Battlefield. And I think one of the best parts about COD is leveling your gun necessarily isn't the content. It's like the gameplay, the maps, the weapons, just in general, and being able to utilize all those things as much as little as you want without having to have a part-time job. as a Call of Duty player to unlock everything. I think that's kind of a detriment.
Yeah, okay. He said that in a really weird way. Essentially what he's saying there, and I agree with him, is that I think weapon prestiges are going to go down as the worst idea ever for Black Ops 7. Having to go through and level up weapons more than once for a casual player, especially with the speed that weapons were leveled up in the beta, is literally like having a part-time job. I think it's a horrible idea, and I think it's going to be needed and required for the mastery camos as well. The only redeeming factor is that those weapons can also be leveled up in the 2 other modes as well. So I don't know. Maybe I eat my words on this and it's the greatest thing ever, but I think it's going to be way too much.
Obviously, there's an aspect of things you can earn, but I'm really more about earning things that you would consider peacocking and not like core elements of the game just being gate kept. And I think COD's kind of done a better job on that. And from the people I talked to when we went to COD Next and things like that, the leveling, regardless of the actual level number required for the weapons, it should be slightly faster. So yeah, that's all that type of content. Pretty cool stuff. But again, if you're not a COD fan, then it's fine. There's lots of games that.
See, I think if they do the weapon leveling faster, then it will actually this will be a good thing, because it'll feel like you're constantly unlocking things, whereas the way that it is right now, I feel like it's too slow. What was that
out there right now?
I dropped my phone.
I'm excited for Arc Raiders. That's coming out very soon. You got the Battle Royale if you're into that. For Battlefield, you got Warzone, supposed to have their update, which I'm not too interested in, but maybe you are. And then they got kind of other games going on too, outside of the first-person genre, third-person genre, in terms of that. And then that gets us to Zombies, which is going to be probably one of the biggest, most robust Zombies launches. I could say that, even considering that we got 2 maps.
I guess with Cursed Mode, he might be right.
Maps last year, I feel like Liberty Falls was a little bit small and a little bit more of like an intro map that led to its kind of like popularity, ease of use, camo grind, whatever you want to call it. Versus Terminus was a completely different vibe. They're going to launch with Ashes of the Dam, which is going to be a huge, like the largest round-based map we've ever had. We did get a sample a little portion of that when we went to COD Next. I think that's huge to be able to have a large map. And then on top of that, you're going to have the survival maps, which are like a little more.
The survival map is going to be 1,000,000% used to grind camos, just to be clear.
Small, simple, high round, casual play type things. And then you have this curse mode, which I think a lot of people are really referring to that as classic. I think that's a little bit more of a misnomer. It's not necessarily a classic mode. It's just a new mode designed a little bit more for challenge oriented players that are a little bit more skilled or want to challenge themselves in a specific way, with its own progression and gameplay loop that'll be slightly different than what we're seeing in survival or the round-based stuff.
Yeah, so the curse thing they're going for 100%. Oh, you go in and like this is a challenge, like you're unlocking. It almost reminds me a little bit of Extinction from Ghost. Not the same, but kind of like more purposeful, and I really like that. I think that will be fun.
And then on top of that, just for fun, they're adding in Dead Ops Arcade, and this is in every odd version of Black Ops. So this is Black Ops 1, Black Ops 3, Black Ops 5, and then now Black Ops 7. Black Ops 5 was Cold War. All of those had the Dead Ops Arcade, so this is just number 4 in that series. And this is just another way for your progression to carry over a count.
We're definitely gonna have a Dead Ops Arcade stream. We gotta beat that thing. We gotta beat that thing. Okay.
And they're gonna have 4 different modes of that too. So it's tons. If you actually enjoy zombies, there's tons to get lost in. And then the ongoing support is we're gonna have 5 full like maps that are coming out with full main Easter egg quests throughout the year for all the seasons. They're gonna have those intro cutscenes, all that stuff to add to the story elements and story beats that we didn't get in Black Ops 6. All the weapon progression that we talked about before, the 30 to 40 weapons that are added, that's all for free. and the new perks, upgrades, field upgrades, systems that they also
I see where he's going with this video.
On top of,
and it's going to make people
all the
mad.
Systems we already had in Black Ops 6 is all completely free. All of that content. So you buy the game, you get access to these content drops, and even if you don't like think that, hey, I want to no life the game, if you want to come back for when these maps launch, maybe experiment with those, have a little bit of fun, and then maybe when GTA comes out, you decide to go jump onto that. That's cool. You at least got a game for 6 to 8 months. And the really only concern that I've seen raised about zombies is the HUD or UI. But we've seen some leak things where you're going to be able to unlock.
So apparently they're going to be putting out a HUD that's the same as Black Ops 3's HUD at launch, apparently.
Super customizable throwback UI from previous zombies games, which will be kind of cool. And I think they've done a bunch of different changes that are kind of like not as, prominent. Is they modified some of the pacing things so that the gameplay should be a little bit smoother and faster, with a little bit more challenge to a certain extent with the core zombies experience. I think the changes to the rampage inducer will allow more people to engage with it, so you can actually kill more zombies in a shorter amount of time. Whether you're just trying to go for higher rounds, maybe you want to do a specific challenge, or maybe you want to do camos or level weapons or whatever the case is, you're going to have all of those types of things. And because of carryover and expanding of the augment system, I think a lot of things are just going to feel a little bit more powerful. And there's usually
I'm a little torn on the augment system being carried over. It feels weird when like nothing else is getting carried over. Maybe I'm alone on this. I'm probably alone on this one. And it's probably actually necessary that it does carry over, because if it didn't, then you'd just be unlocking everything again. And I think those augments already took too long. But now my only worry is that, like, is it going to feel like we're not unlocking or playing at something new this year? Because I don't know.
Power dynamic that you want to achieve in these types of games. And I think they're doing a lot of things to do that. But at the end of the day, whether or not you should buy the game, pre-order the game, or buy it when it goes on sale is going to be completely up to you, your budget, and what you play Call of Duty for. Personally,
don't you give me a non-answer, J God.
I'm going to engage with pretty much everything except for probably Dead Ops Arcade. That's being just honest. I wasn't a fan of it previously, but that's okay. I still get like 20 plus hours in the campaign, especially if I'm going to go for the camo stuff, which I know is not for everybody. Multiplayer, probably do that second or third after I do the zombies Easter egg on day one. And then I do some camos and leveling over there. And then, I'll probably get like 20 to 30 hours minimum on zombies. And then I'll do another 30 hours in multiplayer. And that's just the launch window. After that, with the DLC drops and the other content things, and then coverage as a content creator, those numbers will shoot up.
I love how he didn't mention Warzone in this at all, because it's a non-factor when you're buying this game. Here's what I'm going to say, and I think that I can make this really plain and simple for you. When it comes down to whether or not something is worth something to you, it comes down to two things. For a video game that's a multiplayer game like this, where it's repetitive and you play the same thing over and over again, or zombies, or kind of campaign, when it comes to a Call of Duty game, time. Right? Someone at some point in a review said, if you pay $1 per hour per game that you're in, it's worth it. So like a game that's all campaign, like Red Dead Redemption, and you still play it for 100 hours, well, that's simply worth it, right? So Call of Duty, I'm going to play for more than 100 hours. So there's that. But there's also other games that are like $100, and I only play for like 10, 15 hours maybe. And those are, the difference with those is that those will tell me a direct story. They might like change my experience. Same as paying $30 to go see a movie and eat some popcorn at the movie theater. Yeah, I'm not getting $1 an hour worth my time, but you know what? It's a good experience. It's worth that experience, so on and so forth, right? So that it has to have one of those two things. And if it has none of those two things, it's not worth it for me. Now, I don't know whether the campaign's going to be good or not for Black Ops 7. I can't tell you until I play it. But what I do know is that I'm going to be grinding for all of these things. with no skill-based matchmaking, I will be no-lifing multiplayer. It'll be the first time in years, and it'll be so nice. I can't wait. And then zombies, I'll be going for zombies camos. And endgame, if it's like Modern Warfare Zombies and there is like story related to it, they've got me. Like, I'm in. So like, this game is gonna get me, and it's gonna make people mad because I know we're not allowed to say good things about Black Ops 7, but it's just, I think it's the way that it is. Like, I like the package that they're putting together here. And don't get me wrong, JGod's hyping up, the post-launch content. I'm not trusting that yet. They shit the bed deeply on the post-launch content for Black Ops 6, so I don't believe that it'll be good for Black Ops 7. But the launch content alone is enough for me. But I'm still worried about the post. If they nail the post-launch content too, this could be a really good Call of Duty game. I just don't have faith because Black Ops 6 was so horrible. I am working on a review for that. It should come out hopefully next week. But is it worth $70? If you're going to grind the game, absolutely. If not, don't buy the game. Pretty much it.